It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. Welcome to A Niche Retelling, the podcast where we explore all the ways old tales are made new. I'm your host, Jasmine Garcia, and joining me today are...
My name is Nick, and I have finally crawled out of my sarcophagus.
Yeah, and you came out with a new name and new pronouns. Congratulations.
I formerly go by Callie. Now I'm Nick. Don't question it.
Hello, Nick.
Cool.
To arrive at this ball and arrive at the raid and tell you that I love you most ardently.
Damn.
I'm Ellie McConaughey, and I really admire Joe Wright as the kind of director who's just like, okay, made one real good movie, it's all downhill from here for me.
Ouch.
I'm Charlotte Driftwood, and I found this movie most positively ostentatious.
Criminy. And I'm Violet Floor. This movie bewitched me body and soul after dodging it as a child due to loyalty to the BBC adaptation.
Oh, okay.
When you say as a child, Violet, I'm just going to get Power Word Age cast on me.
Sure, yeah.
Up front.
When it came out, I was 12, so I was indeed a child.
Okay.
Okay.
It's not so bad. I was expecting to say, I was like 5 years old.
And today, we are celebrating the fact it has been 20 glorious years of the 2005 version of Pride and Prejudice.
Greetings, I am IER60, Star Wars Retelling Connections. Point of intersection found. This is a degree 4, featuring Keira, Knightley, Sabay, and the Phantom Menace, Rupert Friend, Grand Inquisitor, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Pip Torrens, Colonel Kaplan, and The Force Awakens. For uncredited amendments, check out eachretelling.tumblr.com/sibling blogs.
Which released in 2005.
The 2005 version released in 2005. That's a good year for it. That's a good year for it.
I can't decide. I'm still keeping that in. That was awkward.
That was funny.
But my response was funny.
Your response was indeed funny. Anyway, but yes, we are celebrating 20 years of Joe Wright's directorial debut, Pride and Prejudice, starring Keira Knightley and Matthew McFayden.
How the fuck does this get to be someone's directorial debut? How do you just walk up to a studio and be like, "Hi, I'm a TV director. Can I do Pride and Prejudice with a huge budget, please?" And they'd just be like, "Yeah, it sounds fine to me. I mean, I don't know. It sounds like I don't really know what could go wrong there."
I mean, it wasn't his directorial debut, but Sense and Sensibility was Ang Lee's English language debut.
Yeah.
And it was his first movie without a predominantly Asian cast, so, it's not... Jane Austen is one of those things where, we mentioned before we started, we talked a little bit about the Anya Taylor-Joy, Emma, they like doing them. They're, easy crowd pleasers. You don't really got to work super hard on the script. It's already kind of just there.
The thing about Jane Austen is that she knew how to craft and deliver a plot. So there's a reason why there are so many retellings of her works, and Pride and Prejudice is a fantastic one to work from, given the fact that you have a larger cast, you have this romance at the center of it that really ties into the title, and you are rooting for both of the leads throughout it, especially when you get to see into their internal desires and monologues, whether that's through the novel itself or through a film adaptation.
And it is a truth universally acknowledged that in each retelling, you have to use the line, and it is a truth universally acknowledged.
It's such a banger.
It is a truth universally acknowledged that this is not spooky month, so it's not the zombie edition.
This is not one of the ones that uses that line, actually.
I know, it's so weird.
It does say additional dialogue by Emma Thompson, uncredited on IMDb. I did not look further into that, but...
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, Emma Thompson is partially responsible for Charlotte's banger monologue when she's talking to Lizzie about accepting Mr. Collins's proposal.
Iconic.
Emma Thompson knows her Austen.
Not to jump on a previous episode of mine too hard, but yeah, she did win an Oscar for adapting Sense and Sensibility, I think exactly 10 years before this one.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
100%.
Okay.
100%. But yeah, with that all in mind, what is everyone's connection to Pride and Prejudice?
So my connection to Pride and Prejudice, I read it back in high school because my school theater troupe was going to be performing it for the spring play. I didn't love the book at the time and thought about it pretty disparagingly afterwards. I only actually saw half of the BBC adaptation, but remained loyal to it for some reason. So it wasn't until I had gotten older and fallen in love with the Jane Austen RPG Good Society that I came to have a better understanding and appreciation for Jane Austen and revisited her work. So I hadn't actually seen 2005 Pride and Prejudice until a couple of years ago. It's a really lovely film. It is one of my favorites now, and I just finished up a reread of the novel and have a greater appreciation for it as well.
I was in high school when this particular adaptation hit. I was 15 years old, and I was a big fan of Jane Austen in my late teens and early 20s for reasons that would become clear later. And this was the Jane Austen adaptation basically for the 2000s. And, my mom loved it to pieces. I loved it to pieces. It's been a hot minute since I've seen it before. I rewatched it for this one. And I'm not going to go too deep into this, but man, Keira Knightley really is the mouth-actiest actress of all time, huh?
And also probably at least partially responsible for half the millennial sapphics out there.
No, you're still giving Gillian Anderson too little credit. I say that.
That is so fair.
It was Joan Jett for me.
Ooh, good taste. Good taste.
Nina Dobrev.
Not Taylor Momsen? Anyway.
Her too. Just a little bit both.
I have no idea for me. It was very normal for me to be attracted to women, so I didn't think too hard about it.
Yeah, that tracks, yeah.
For me, we read this my senior year of high school. It was all British literature that year. We started with Beowulf and the Canterbury Tales because God is dead and hates me. And we worked our way forward from there. We marched forward through British literature.
I'm not going to do the bit where I bring the mic too close to my mouth, but I do want you all to know that I have some serious issues with referring to Beowulf as English literature. I know it's not your fault, Nick.
We watched this version of the movie after we read the book, and I was like, oh, I like this.
Exactly in that tone, huh?
Mm-hmm. So, prior to this, I have seen the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, the YouTube series that retells the story in the modern day as a vlog series, because I was a big fan of Hank Green, who produced it, wrote the first episode. I'm big into comedy music, so that's how I found Hank Green, and yeah. So that makes this, the 2005 version, the second ever Jane Austen adaptation I have watched as of yesterday when I watched it.
That is seriously, truly beautiful. I mean, talk about being part of the Lucky 10K club.
No, I'm coming in here a complete Jane Austen virgin, Jane the Virgin.
You know what? You are the new Jane the Virgin. You do not use the N-word all willy-nilly. I proclaim it.
I fucking loved it. I was blown the fuck away. Like, we started it the night before, and we're like, when we get sleepy, we'll stop and we'll continue watching it tomorrow. And then we were glued to the TV for well over half of the runtime, me and my wife. This was just fantastic fucking filmmaking.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's easily one of my favorite movies. And I've said it before, Pride and Prejudice has been with me for quite some time. I first read it when I was 13. River tried to blame that on me being a lovey-dovey bitch, but nah, I was born a lovey-dovey bitch, basically. But it certainly didn't help. And I just kind of started finding any adaptations I could get my grubby little hands on, including this, including Pride and Prejudice, and of course Lizzie Bennet Diaries. And you know what? I will say it, I do have a fondness for Pride and Prejudice and zombies, and you can't stop me. Legally, you cannot stop me.
I can. But only I can.
Never.
And I won't.
I will take my Pride and Prejudice and Zombies opinions off the air because we should focus on 2005.
Yes, and besides, we'll probably cover it one day.
Sure.
So you want to hold on to that.
Oh, yes. I will put Dead Dove Do Not Eat. We'll pick that up later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, can we talk about the cast of this movie? Because what?
So stacked. It is Like, it is so crazy to think of how many really, really currently famous people had slightly bit parts in this.
And they swooped up Keira Knightley. This was right between the first Pirates and the second Pirates.
I think that having an incredibly stacked cast is just like a requirement for big budget, well, big-ish budget, Jane Austen adaptations. You know, this one has Jenna Malone in an incredibly small part. You know, there's, God, who is it in Emma? I'm trying to remember the name of the
Mia
boyfriend.
Goth?
Yeah, Mia Goth is in there. The Sense and Sensibility. Hugh Laurie has basically a cameo where he barely does anything.
So,
Yeah.
Jane Austen adaptations have a lot in common with Muppet films, huh?
Yeah.
I was actually just going to say that it's, since they're usually produced and shot in Britain, it's further proof that the British film industry is 30 people locked in a room and they let them out in shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you also got Carey Mulligan in an even smaller role than Jenna Malone.
She wasn't Carey Mulligan yet. Neither of them were famous yet. They were. I'm familiar with them. I'm kind of shocked to see them as babies.
Like, Jenna Malone became Joanna in the Hunger Games. Kelly Riley went on to do Yellowstone, which we don't need to talk about.
Carey Mulligan starred in the best episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Rosamund Pike went on to do Gone Girl.
Yeah. And, of course, we also had veteran Donald Sutherland. I still miss him.
God, 2 Hunger Games alumni. If I had a nickel for every Hunger Game alumni in this movie, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot.
But it's weird that it happened twice, right?
We've got Judi Dench basically.
Yeah,
doing
Judi Dench as Catherine de Bourgh.
She's basically doing like the anti-version of her character in Shakespeare in Love, and that both of them just show up really randomly for like 2 minutes at a time. But in Shakespeare in Love, she shows up to fix everything, and here she shows up to like try to ruin everything.
Going back to Judi Dench, y'all know the story of how Joe Wright asked her to play Lady Catherine, correct?
I read it. Please tell it.
Okay.
It sounds like you're prepared to tell the story.
I'm so prepared, Charlie. Thank you so much for setting me up. Since podcasting is an audio medium and we need to read something aloud.
We just say, listeners, go look it up on your own. They're probably listening to this while driving. You're gonna kill some people with that.
Hey, listeners, make sure to hit like and subscribe during your commute.
Hey, listeners, if you need context for anything we're saying, please fucking pull over.
Okay, now that I've caused a car accident at Jazz's behest, so basically Joe Wright had written Judi Dench a letter saying, "I love it when you play a bitch. Please come and be a bitch for me." And it worked.
And Joe Wright's justification for casting Donald Sutherland was just, he's a god.
Yeah.
Correct.
Interesting fact is that Matthew McFayden has extremely poor eyesight. So during that misty morning shot, the director was behind the camera waving a giant red flag so he knew where to go.
I love, being only familiar with the vlog versions of these characters and that being, 20 years in my, not 20 years. I can't do math. Maybe.
Roughly 20
I don't know.
years if you watched it when it was new.
Okay, like 20-ish years in my past. But I was able to get who every character was immediately, because not only is the casting perfect, the costuming is perfect, the like character choices are perfect. Like the second someone walks out the screen, they're like Mr. Darcy is like, oh, got it, socially anxious vampire. Okay, cool, got it.
It has been written as a vampire multiple times. You're correct.
Or Tom Hollander comes in as Mr. Collins, and he's like pouring sweat no matter what's going on in the scene around him, and he's going like between each sentence, and it's like, oh, disgusting little worm, got it.
Can you imagine being like, okay, we've called you back for Pride and Prejudice. Oh gosh, who am I reading for? Mr. Collins. Really?
Mm-hmm.
Aw.
He got to be the villain in the second and third Pirates of the Caribbean because of this.
I mean,
Yeah.
fair. He's also a weedy little dork. That dude, Mr. Collins, I'm gonna shove him in a locker.
Oh,
We all are.
It's so good. It's like what like a sniveling advisor character would have been like in college or high school. Like if you met teenage Jafar.
He's a sniveling little advisor, but nobody fucking listens to him. It's
No,
terrible.
he's just going around going, "Sire, if I may," and they just walk past him, and someone else walks up, and he's like, "Sire, if I may."
You may not.
Everyone in this is giving such a good performance, and I think part of what really makes this film work for me is that it is an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice that understands it only has 2 hours. It doesn't have the time to get into every detail of the book, which takes place over the course of a year in the lives of these characters, and has that sort of slower passage of time. By compressing the timeline and also not just emphasizing the romance between Elizabeth and Darcy, but also emphasizing the Bennets as a family and making this a much, honestly, warmer and lovelier movie than you would expect from Pride and Prejudice if you were just familiar with the novel, I think really works as an adaptational choice.
I had a friend who was a librarian who had said that it's kind of like you took the Jane Austen vibes and mixed it a bit with the Bronte vibes, and she's not wrong. And I think that's part of what makes it work.
100%. And I think in terms of the costuming, which is gorgeous, the fact that Joe Wright is not a fan of the Regency silhouette, he's not a fan of the Regency aesthetic, works in this movie's favor because he sets it in the 1890s rather than in the 1790s. Yes. And so like the waistlines are a little bit lower, the dresses are a little bit gauzier, and so we're playing with that sort of neoclassical, there we go, silhouette rather than the full Regency or Empire era. So it has its own visual language that then got riffed on for the next 20 years because it worked so well.
Oh yeah, I feel like I've watched both on this movie specifically and on the book so many things that I'm piecing together. That's what that romance was based on. Like,
oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say that if you are paying attention to dialogue very carefully, which I do because I'm a crazy person, the things that have stated temporal relationships to each other do indicate that it does take a place over the same span of time as the book. But like one of Joe Wright's later films was a film based on Anna Karenina called Anna Karenina. And one of the problems that movie really very much has is it is extremely hard to get a sense of temporal or physical relationship between the scenes. They just sort of exist in this broad mush. There's lots of scenes where you just sort of miss that you've changed the locations completely. And this movie is extremely good at, you look at the visual difference between like the Bennett's house and the Bingley's house, and then later on the Darcy house, and you instantly understand how all these families function in relationship to each other without the movie needing to spend time spelling it out,
There is just some amazing visual storytelling constantly.
Even like in subtle characterizations, because apparently Joe Wright told Keira Knightley, under no circumstances are you allowed to pout. But there is one scene where Joe Wright was not on set when it was shot.
It was the AD, assistant director doing.
Joe Wright can't watch that scene because she broke the no pout rule.
I love Keira Knightley so much. Oh my goodness.
She's fabulous in this. Like, because something that I think happens a lot with the cultural osmosis with Lizzie Bennet is people kind of assume she's just an angry person. And a lot of adaptations kind of make that mistake, I feel like the more modernized ones, especially. Not Lizzie Bennet Diaries. Lizzie Bennet Diaries is damn near untouchable. But one thing I really like about Keira's performance is there is just so much joy and life, and she kind of says everything with a slight smirk, and it's so almost everything until she gets genuinely angry or genuinely upset. But
and then the lower jaw comes out. The Keira Knightley upset trademark.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But it works. It so works. But she really makes Lizzie feel like a full person and plays with Austen's wit so well. And Honestly, that's something that another thing I really love about this movie is just how it's so weird to say a movie like this has world building, but the world feels so lived in, you know?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So
Like, you start at the very beginning with them on their family. I don't want to call it a farm, but that's the best word I have.
it is a farm.
It's a farm.
Yeah. It's the Muddy Hem version of Pride and Prejudice.
Right. And there's like animals running around, and it feels like they live there. Like, this is not a set. This is a place where people live.
And there's so much attention brought to like the extras at the balls and stuff like that. Like, again, you believe this is a town that has a bunch of different people with various different relationships that have nothing to do with what's going on with the movie.
So a movie that's set in history doesn't need world building per se, the way like a fantasy story needs world building. But there are elements of the society that are so different from ours that you are actually going to need to make sure the audience understands what's important. I said in our pre-watch chat that like that is Charlotte's role in the story. Charlotte is Lizzie. This is where you're headed. 27, flat broke, a burden to your parents, marrying Mr. Collins because fuck it, what else are you gonna do? It's the scene from Dickinson where Sue tells Emily, if I don't marry your brother, I'm literally going to starve to death. You do need that because, that doesn't always click to modern audiences if you don't make sure they get it.
Yeah, let me be clear. I, at one point, watched this with someone who clearly didn't get it even with that monologue. Like, there are just some people who really don't understand that marriage was a matter of life and death for women for a while there.
This movie does a really good job of just being like, by the way, here's what the reality is. Okay, let's move forward. With the way the mother gets excited about things that seem kind of weird in retrospect.
Yeah. I am Mrs. Bennet's only defender. She understands the world.
Incorrect.
Oh, thank goodness. No, but
if anything, I'm actually a lot more mad at Mr. Bennet than I used to be.
Oh, 100%. And that said, going back to what I said about this movie being so warm and lovely is that because it focuses on the Bennets as a family unit in a way that the novel frankly just doesn't. The novel likes Elizabeth, likes Jane, and kind of likes Mr. Bennet, and doesn't really care about any of the other Bennets. And so they get kind of a bad go of it. This movie has a softness and a care in how it is presenting the Bennets as a family. And you really do get the sense that these are people who do love each other, even when they are embarrassed by one another, even when they are upset by one another. And I think that the party at Netherfield is a fantastic encapsulation of that. You have, Mary playing the pianoforte and Mr. Bennet telling her to stop. And then later on in that sort of montage, you see him comforting her because she's upset about embarrassing herself. And it's just all those lots of little lovely moments that sort of softens the edge to Jane Austen's novel in a way that I think works really well.
It's part of what makes this movie so comfortable in a weird way. Like, this is easily one of my comfort movies. Like, if I'm having a bad day and feeling hopeless, like, it's definitely one of the ones I put in the lineup just because there is such a soft, gentle tone to it. And it's also just got a really hopeful message at the end that, hey, a terrible person will actually listen to your critiques and do better.
The point I was going to make is that, like, I like the party scene. I do feel like the film is, I don't know how to say this without sounding mean, a little too in love with very, very long shots. I think a couple of them are kind of unmotivated, but I really like
disagree.
the one. Not all of them. I like the opening one a lot. It's very reminiscent of the opening of a similar opening shot in the 95 Sense and Sensibility.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like the one at the party because it really allows you to bounce around the party and see all these different plot lines advancing as the party goes on without, slowing the plot down.
Yeah, you get the sense that the other attendees at the Netherfield ball are also going through their own stories without needing to give them dialogue. And this is a movie where people feel real. And I think that is something that you do lose in some of the more stagey adaptations of Pride and Prejudice, the ones that are more faithful to the book. And I think the age of the cast, particularly with the Bennett sisters, at least in terms of how they are presenting themselves, does emphasize more their youth and the sort of frivolity and awareness that comes of being a young woman coming into her own and understanding her sense of place in the world.
Or not understanding because their father hasn't really impressed upon them the consequences if they fuck up in what is a society that cared a lot about how women behaved.
Yeah, a father who has undermined their mother. Though that said, I do really love how Mr. Bennett and Mrs. Bennett's relationship is recontextualized in this film. There's a teasing sense, and you get the idea that they do love each other when that is not the case in the book.
Yeah, no, God. This is definitely the kindest Mr. Bennett has ever been to his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you see in the end, I feel like this is the most we've seen in Mr. Bennett that does, in fact, actually care about the fate of his children.
The way Donald Sutherland plays that and how delighted he is so wonderful.
Pour one out for Donald Sutherland, everybody.
Yeah.
Really.
Again, like, Mr. Bennett is a character who a modern audience would want to sympathize with more than, you know, I've made this point on a couple of occasions about various Jane Austen adaptations, that, like, Jane Austen films are an adaptation of an adaptation of an adaptation of
Usually.
reality. So at this point, we are so many layers removed from the actual society that Jane Austen lived in that it's very hard for us to necessarily clue in to what her mindset would have been writing it. It is borderline alien. And so I think that having one character who is, I think, is how a modern audience would want to see, you know, Mr. Bennett is like, no, don't marry Mr. Collins, you'll be miserable and he's a dickhead. And having another character who is equally sympathetic, who is like, baby girl, you don't find a husband, you're fucked. I think that is a good balancing act. And I think it's obviously it's not one that Jane Austen could not be thinking about 2005 audiences when she wrote her books, alas.
You're assuming she's not a time traveler.
I am, yes. If she is, then how come she let all of this shit happen, Jane Austen?
Yeah, like all of the ways that people are trying to take us back to the point where we're fully dependent on our fathers and husbands.
Well, so it is fucking crazy to me that a woman wrote this story at the time that these things were happening in society. That really blew my mind as a first-time experiencer of her prose.
I think you said to me at one point, Charley, that it feels like a revisionist feminist thing that someone would have written like now instead of something from
yes, no, it does, yes.
Well, and that's kind of the thing about Jane Austen, is that she was an author who was very concerned with the reality of women's situations in the Regency, as someone who never married and lived with family. And so the idea that she was writing books, not so much as like moralistic instructional tales, I think that's too narrow a box to put her in. I think she was a very good crafter of a plot, but she wrote these stories with heroines and heroes and explored what brings people together, what pushes them apart, and what should be going into a marriage beyond security, what draws people together, and ideally what should be in a marriage beyond just convenience and status. I think that's why she has survived, even if from a modern standpoint, her novels don't read as particularly romantic. Early French translations added kisses into their adaptations of Jane Austen because they were like, a French audience is not going to believe these people are in love if they're not kissing. And
she was all about propriety, and that's actually part of why people were so mad at that ending of this movie, which I think is absurd.
I love the ending to this movie, and I think the ending works because the movie is not concerned with being a faithful adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. It is a rendition of Pride and Prejudice, and the ending feels so romantic and so fitting with what we have seen come before it.
We earned it.
Yeah, and speaking of what we've seen come before it, we have barely talked about our main couple.
I mean, they're main couples. I've seen, this is Disney's Beauty and the Beast. This is Steed and Blackbeard. This is Bella and Edward.
Unfortunately, yes.
Hey, what did Darcy and Elizabeth do to you to get a Bella and Edward comparison?
They are that's literally the reference point.
That was Stephanie Meyer's intention. I'm sorry, it's true. That is technically why we could do a Twilight month, but not for a long while.
We were instantly able to read it. Is Lizzie the original, not like the other girls? Did this?
Unfortunately, yes.
No, actually, no. I'm disagreeing. I'm 100% disagreeing. It's absolutely Beatrice from Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
Lizzie is not like other girls, and that rings true heavily in the original novel.
Well, see, I feel like Lizzie does support other girls, though, a lot more than the N-Log thing would indicate. Listen, if anyone is the N-Log, it's the one who out and out said that it's rare to find accomplished women. Caroline Bingley, the original pick-me.
Yeah, no, 100%. I was like, all I know about this is just a straight romance that sapphics are really into. And then when the main character's whole thing is that she makes fun of men as a hobby and always supports women, I'm like, yeah, well, all right, that'll do it, yep.
Okay, so in our, you can interpret any literary author as gay, so if you want to, any historical author. In our spectrum of authors, what's our, Mary Shelley, I think you're reaching there, bud, to, on the other end of the spectrum, Emily Dickinson. Oh, yeah, 100% gay. 100% ladies. I feel like Jane Austen is definitely closer to the left end, but there is evidence. I don't think it's very compelling, but, so there's a reason why sapphics like her. She's also, there are very few romantic comedies that actually focus on women thoughts on a lot of these subjects.
Yes.
A lot of romantic comedies, even while the woman is the main character because they're the presumed audience, they still fail the Bechdel test. And problems with the Bechdel test aside, they are not super interested in how women relate to each other. And
right,
so,
and I don't think it was anything that a male author was interested in the late 1700s.
Whereas, Jane Austen, whatever her good points and faults, she is very interested in what her lady characters think about things, is me point.
Yes, no. And I do think it's one of the reasons why we still love her work, even if we feel the need to twist things. And, of course, we have every right to.
She's like Shakespeare in that regard, where the plots are so solid and the characters function so well as archetypes that it makes sense that there are so many Jane Austen retellings in the same way that there are so many Shakespearean retellings.
And in each retelling,
in each retelling, you say?
Why,
that reminds me of a podcast I'm a fan of.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Oh, stop!
I already did that bit. You are just stealing my bit.
It's one of the best podcasts.
Well, one could say I am simply retelling your bit. Just like in each retelling.
I'm off to the sound. I'm off to Long Island Sound.
And I am retelling the news that it is one of the best podcasts.
I'm off to Long Island Sound. I'm not listening.
It is a truth universally acknowledged that an episode of In Each Retelling must be in want of a reference to said title.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you guys.
The truth universally acknowledged that Ellie is walking into Long Island Sound.
Ellie, get back here.
Why do they call it a sound? That's the wrong type of waves, bro.
Anyway.
So far as our main couple goes, I do really like this take on both Lizzie and Darcy. I love that this is a teasing, gentle sort of Lizzie. Like when she says, "I do dearly love to laugh," we have seen that and we believe it. And it feels more she's not so much laughing at others and we're just laughing at the absurdity of the situations that she keeps finding herself in. Like, this is a Lizzie that cares about her friendship with Charlotte. This is a Lizzie that cares about her sisters, Jane especially, but all of them, and her family. And this is such a romantic take on Darcy. This man is smitten from basically day one, and it's so fun to see that silent journey that Matthew McFayden is going on throughout this movie.
So mad about it.
I was analyzing it at DM to Jazz, and I was like, it's like he doesn't feel understood by most people. And the second she meets him, she instantly gets everything about him parenthetical as fuel to make fun of him. But he has just never been treated with that immediate level of understanding before, and that's why he's like got this expectant puppy face when she's around.
Yeah, there's this Tumblr post I'll have to see if I can find where from the first half of Pride and Prejudice from Darcy's perspective is he thinks they're doing a cute enemies to lovers banter thing. Meanwhile, Lizzie is mentally inventing the car so she can run him over in her mind.
He is literally just a guy. Hit him with your car.
Get a job. Stay away from her.
Except no, they are soulmates, Your Honor.
They are, but not at the moment that they meet each other. It's the journey that they both go on that makes them soulmates. Much like The Good Place.
In this version, at least from her performance, I do feel that like she enjoys having him around in every scene, even when she's mad at him. Like we first meet when she asks him to dance. He's, even though she's like makes a big deal out of him saying no, he's the one she asked. We don't see her ask anyone before that. And like every time he enters a room, you could see her go like, okay, good. Now I can have some fun with this. Okay. No. All right.
To compare it to Much Ado About Nothing, which I already did, the way that romance works, the actual main romance, shut the fuck up about Hero and what's his tits.
Yeah, no, fuck that guy. Hero is single at the end, actually. It's Shakespeare. It's the public domain. I can make up that ending if I so choose.
That the way that relationship works so that the audience buys it, if you're doing it well, is you kind of have to believe, yeah, they kind of hate each other, but also, like, this is the only intellectual fun they get when they get to, like, snap at each other. And that's sort of where I feel like Liz winds up in this version. Most people just sort of brush her off when she's sniping at them, whereas he actually will come back.
They're like, she seems a little prideful and prejudiced to me.
One could say, yeah.
He will actually fire back, and I think she vibes with that.
Yeah, everyone else is like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you talking back to me? And Darcy's like, ugh, not now, boner.
No, he loves the fact that she is just as smart as him, if not smarter.
Mm-hmm.
He loves
Yes, please, I desire it most ardently. The conversation between Darcy and Caroline Bingley, where they're talking about what makes a woman accomplished, and he's listing off all the things that would make an accomplished woman and throwing in, like, she would have to read, and then Lizzie immediately snapping her book shut because she doesn't want to fall into this trap. Is so funny.
So funny. And, you know, and she's just calling him out. It's just like, okay, how is any woman supposed to be accomplished when, and it's, well, yes, she does understand Darcy on some level she does not understand him at all yet, because he was trying to give her a compliment and she did not grasp that. It's just like, no, like anybody who watches this after knowing what happens can absolutely see that he's falling crazy in love with her. And in fairness, Austen never hid that in the novel. She was playing with some dramatic irony in there.
Well, the novel directly states that Darcy's like, whatever. And then over the months of them knowing each other, he's like, oh no, she's hot. And then he's pining for her the entire time. So we, the audience, absolutely.
Eyes.
Yes.
Oh no, she's hot.
Yeah.
Really the only person who is surprised at his confession by that point is Lizzie.
Mm-hmm.
Lizzie's just looking around like, is there someone behind me? Did I miss somebody? Is there?
Am I on candid camera? What's a camera? Why did I say that?
I'm gonna need you to put that audacity back, because I know you're not talking to me that way. We're gonna start this conversation over.
I'm sorry. There is no possible way your timing can be this bad. There is no way you're professing your love to me just when I found out how you ruined my sister's life. There's no fucking way.
Yeah. Lizzie's reaction is, first of all, how dare you? Second of all, the fuck did you say about my family? And then Darcy has to step back and think about what he just said and is like, I've made some mistakes.
And then he gives himself a little timeout.
One of the things that I always kind of wondered is if, like, what if she had said yes? Like, what if she hadn't found out what he did to Jane until later and just said yes because, like, fuck it. This dude's fucking loaded. He's a little nicer to talk to than someone like Mr. Collins. I gotta get the fuck out.
I know that there are so many novels exploring that what if.
Okay, I'm writing reverse Taming of the Shrew now.
Shout out to all of those Regency romance authors who have blogs and show up when I am ever so helpfully to be like, here's the research I did into Regency divorce laws and whatnot whenever I'm doing research for the Regency roleplay I'm doing.
Wonderful.
Hell yeah.
I love when Mr. Collins proposes to her and she looks like she's gonna throw up.
Yes, God.
And
He's
she's
so
like,
weasel.
the silent, please don't leave to her dad.
Yeah. The audible please don't leave to Jane and everyone else.
Like, don't leave me with him.
No, I don't feel safe. Stranger danger.
The funniest thing about Mr. Collins, and this is unfortunately very true to life about dudes like him, is he is utterly oblivious to how everyone in the room feels about him, even when they are not at all disguising it.
He's also the guy who definitely, out of anyone, could afford a better haircut.
I don't know how you manage a man in the fucking 1800s or 1700s and still be an incel, but
No,
God,
well,
if he didn't
he's
manage it.
He's their founder. He's the Joseph Smith of incels.
And therefore he must die. Where are all the novels that are writing his murder? Let Charlotte inherit all the money. It'll be fine.
Me?
You know, we've been friends for a while. I think I could bequeath that to you.
Yes!
But no, and it's just like, there are adaptations that actually kind of try to soften Collins down. Like, I'm thinking of the novel Most Ardently, which is a modernization in which Darcy and Lizzie are lesbians, of course.
Mm.
A plus.
And it's the Benetiz family, and basically
I'm not 100% sure they're not lesbians in this version, but go on.
Mr. Darcy, there is still time.
Yeah. No, I mean, as a non-binary lesbian who also has luxurious mutton chops, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I hope the Mrs. Darcys are doing okay. Anyway, as I was saying, so in that novel, the Collins figure actually ends up standing up to his aunt Catherine, and he and Charlotte are actually quite cute in that novel, but I don't understand the urge to do that, though, because Collins is the worst.
I can almost understand the urge because when we're introduced to him in the novel, he is someone where Jane Austen is like, listen, you need to understand this guy fucking sucks. But at the same time, she's presenting him where like he is the one making the effort to bury the hatchet with the Bennets, knowing that his father and Mr. Bennet were at odds for pretty much the entirety of his father's life. And so he's trying to extend the olive branch, but he's also so pompous and slimy and like such a toady that even when he's doing what could be the right thing and what could be welcome from someone else, it just doesn't land because it just comes with such a self-satisfactory air.
Then he goes on to tell him to abandon Lydia. No, fuck you. I don't care if your intentions are to save everyone else. Fuck you.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
I fucking love the long shot of him walking around a party where everyone is actively avoiding paying any attention to him.
Yeah.
So I understand the desire to give Charlotte a happy ending. As I said, she exists in the plot primarily to be a warning. The problem is, and this is actually a problem that I talk about with writing a lot, like Collins is not the kind of villain you can engage with. You know, he's not a Villanelle or a Cersei Lannister. He's just a spineless little twerp.
Yeah.
And so that is an incredibly hard villain to, and I don't even want to call him a villain because he's not big enough to be a villain. That is an incredibly hard character.
Yeah, he's only 5'6".
To write inside. He's not even like Mr. Wickham.
Yeah.
Wickham.
Dickhead.
Wickham.
Yeah.
Wickham in this version where, you know, Wickham, for all that he is an incredibly shitty person, he does shit. You know, Collins whiffs on Elizabeth, and rather than try to prove her wrong, he's just like, okay, next girl.
Yeah.
He goes around smelling people is really what Collins does in this version.
He's so bad. The thing about Charlotte Lucas is that I do like her as a character, especially in this adaptation. So I can understand wanting to give Charlotte a better story, a more happy ending. That said, I think one where her marriage turns into a romance or giving her another romance isn't quite what I would want. Like, I want to see Charlotte settling into her life that she chose. propose and finding that satisfaction there, and also getting to see Charlotte and Lizzie mend their friendship, because I think this movie does a really good job of smoothing that over. Again, there's that sort of warmth and loveliness about it, whereas in the novel, like, their friendship is kind of irrevocably broken after Charlotte accepts the proposal from Collins, and Lizzie never quite forgives her for it, which is a shame.
It is really sad because, you know, at least in this case, this Lizzie does understand. And also, I'm sorry, I feel like Charlotte is not a romantic person. Maybe even aromantic. I kind of get that read from her.
Arrow, ace, queen.
Oh, yeah.
We stand.
We do.
Yeah.
And we want good things for her, but that does not mean we redeem Mr. Collins.
I love the completely broad, cartoony portrayal of Mr. Collins that Tom Hollander is doing. I think it's a lot, but it gives you an immediate idea of who this character is, and I understand why he took over as the villain in Keira Knightley's other franchise.
Can I just say that he does give, I give a broken clock is right twice a day moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He likes potatoes.
Yes.
True.
Potatoes are great.
He can recognize an excellently boiled potato.
That doesn't make him special. One of the universal constants of, like, dishes across Europe and North and South America is fucking potatoes. Everybody loves potatoes.
I'm just saying,
true.
broken clocks are right twice a day.
We like potatoes here on this podcast.
It is a truth universally acknowledged that potatoes are awesome. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Very much.
That is the official stance of an each retelling, is that we fucking love potatoes.
That does represent the views of our employer.
We love an excellently boiled potato.
But please season them.
In Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, there's a lot of Farquaad-esque height gags with Tom Hollander's character. I fucking love the shot where he's proposing, but you don't see his knee. So it just kind of looks like Lizzie's staring 2 feet down at him and being like, oh god. I feel like that had to have been an intentional choice.
There's not an audience member at all that can't understand why she cannot accept him.
Yeah.
I will say, he is proposing to Lizzie while being her cousin, and there is also the tossed-off line from the Countess, you know, Mr. Darcy, my nephew, is engaged to my daughter. Hey, don't do that.
Since birth, it was like, look at these 2 babies, they'd be perfect together. Speaking of Twilight.
Do you want Charles II of Spain? Because that's how you get Charles II of Spain.
Unfortunately, it was still incredibly common back then, to the point where one of Austen's other works' happy ending was the main character marrying her first cousin.
They were. Speaking of Anne de Bourgh, I have to recommend the novel The Heiress, The Revelations of Anne de Bourgh. It's by Molly Greeley, and it is a
Catherine
story.
De Bourgh, right?
No, Anne de Bourgh.
Anne de Bourgh is her daughter.
Yes.
Anne okay, sorry.
Yes. Anne doesn't really get a presence in this, but...
Or in the novel, or in most adaptations, really.
Yes. The novel The Heiress sort of poses the question... Pride and Prejudice is a romantic novel. What if Anne de Bourgh is living in a gothic novel? And I read it a couple of weeks ago. It's fantastic. It's also gay. Just in case that, you know, appeals to anyone on this podcast or listening.
No.
It might.
What, us?
Us? Never. What?
No.
Banging pots and pans until someone else reads this.
Yeah, I want to.
Listen, you got wishes, Violet.
I do have wishes that I can use. Just going back to the Collins proposal, I think the Collins proposal is such good foreshadowing and setup for Darcy's first proposal, because Collins goes into that fully expecting Elizabeth is going to say yes to him and doesn't even really give her the opportunity to accept or decline until she has to say, hey, I haven't said shit, my guy, and then doesn't believe her when she is saying no. Yeah, exactly. Produced and fully intended by Janet Austen. But
I adore you, by the way. I'm so glad you're here.
Likewise, Charley. It's so fun to hang out outside of OK Zoomer. But, and then with Darcy's proposal, like Darcy similarly, even though Darcy is going into that assuming she's going to say yes, because of course she is. She's broke. She has no prospects, and he's rich, and he knows that basically he is the best option that she has. And he's also in love with her. So obviously she's going to say yes.
He forgot to factor in her pride and her prejudice too, for that matter.
Yeah, he didn't think to factor it in. He didn't think to factor in her prejudice due to his pride. And then when she calls
he didn't read
him
the
on
title
it,
of the book, that feels like it's on him at that point.
much like Hamlet doesn't know he's in Hamlet, Mr. Darcy does not know he's in Pride and Prejudice.
And, like, I'm sorry, my guy. You out and out said that she was not handsome enough to tempt you in the beginning. Like, motherfucker.
Yeah. And then
weird thing to say about Keira Knightley.
That's not a nice thing to say to one of the most beautiful women on the planet.
But yeah, no, just the two proposals very close together, and Lizzie having the strength to say no to both of them is fantastic.
It's one of the things that people love about her, I feel like. She knows her goddamn worth. I mean, we all find that kind of self-love.
I'm learning that there was once a woman in literature who was so fantastic that all other writers from that point on was like, so we just write her, right? We don't have to come up with a new woman.
Like, so the trick of writing Liz, especially if you're gonna adapt her to modern day, is like, it is extremely easy for Liz to come across as like kind of a jerk or kind of just irritate. Like it is, she has to be a little bit kind of smug, and honestly, like, as much as I love her and I love Keira Knightley, I would probably find her insufferable to actually have to deal with. And like making a character who is annoying to other characters but still engaging and want to root for her is an incredibly thin tightrope to walk.
Yeah.
I wouldn't find her annoying, but that's because I'm probably annoying in that exact way.
Yeah,
Jazz, Joe, fuck off. No, I have to say this. Jazz, are you kidding me? She spends all of her time insulting everyone around her. I can barely get you to say a bad word about anyone.
Oh god. Okay, so I'm Jane. Okay, fine.
You're Jane. I'm sorry to burst that bubble.
We do love Jane, though.
A couple years ago, as the commentaries were coming out, I rewatched Lizzie Bennet Diaries for the first time in almost 2 decades. And I remember as a teenager thinking, like, this lead character, Lizzie Bennet, she's like exactly my type. I wish I knew a person like this. And then rewatching and be like, oh, she's a dick. I'm glad I don't know her. And yeah, they walked that tightrope of like, I had to grow up to realize that she was such a smug person who keeps
and none of this is like me saying that I don't love Elizabeth. I do. You know, Pride and Prejudice is not my favorite Jane Austen, but it's up there. And
in her defense, she's 19.
She is 19.
Yeah. Who among us wasn't a bit of a dick at 19?
But her mind is bolder.
I was going to try to make a reference to the Tegan and Sarah song 19, but then I realized no one but me is getting that reference. But my point is that, like, a lot of adaptations, both set contemporary to the book and modern adaptations, really fumble that ball. I think, God, what is the fucking name of it? The one with Renee Zellweger.
Bridget Jones' Diary.
Bridget Jones, wanton sex goddess with a very bad man between her thighs.
That one absolutely fucks it up. She's exhausting to watch. I know that that's not a super popular opinion I have. I just find that movie terribly exhausting to endure.
No, I understand. I know I'm in the minority and that I do have a fondness for it.
No, I think you are. I think you are much more in the majority, Jazz.
I think what Bridget Jones does well is that you places Bridget in sort of a lower social standing. It positions her as the underdog, so the audience is predisposed to rooting for her in the sense that contemporary audiences to Jane Austen would be rooting for Lizzie as someone with no certain prospects or future to find her own happiness.
Fair.
Yeah. You're really good at saying things about this story.
I think about this story a lot, and I have played a lot of Good Society, a Jane Austen RPG, so I've thought a lot about Jane Austen's work in particular.
Well, you are right. Lizzie is kind of smug, but she's also just a lot of fun to be around. Like, she's really clever and witty. And again, she loves her sisters and is willing to throw verbal hands for them. And I think we all need a friend like that, if not a sister.
Yes.
Of course Mr. Darcy fell in love with her. He'd be stupid not to.
And I think that's absolutely true of the best of Lizzie. And I think that's absolutely true of this movie. I do agree with Ellie that Lizzie in the book in particular, and in a lot of adaptations, is a lot harsher. Like, she cares about her sister, singular, and she is kind of insufferable to be around. And so I do think that with more modern adaptations, in order for Lizzie to land, you have to flesh out the supporting cast a lot more. You have to have sympathy for Mrs. Bennet and Mary Bennet, my beloved, and just really understand who these people are besides being embarrassments to Lizzie. Like, you have to treat them as their own people. And I think this movie does this really well in its relatively short time frame, just given how it has the Bennets play off of one another.
My wife had never read the book or experienced the book and was not thinking about the fact that she was watching a truncated version of events, and was just impressed with how much focus all of the sisters got. And I'm like, and they had to take some of it away for time and still made it feel like they are characters present in this story.
I mean, the other problem is, like, the other element of this thing that I think makes this version a lot stronger than others is a lot of stuff, especially in modern adaptations, gets completely excised. You know, I find that very few adaptations, unless they're doing a full miniseries, do the subplot with Lydia. You know, very, very few of them do this. I've noticed that very few of them do something with Charlotte. Most movies adaptations of this are laser focused on Lizzie and Mr. Darcy, and maybe you will get some time devoted to Jane and Mr. Bingley, and that's it. So I think that making sure you do cover all the rest of the family, that the rest of the sisters are full characters who, if not like necessarily engaged with the plot, are at least aware of it and doing their own thing around it. You know, the recurring beat of them listening at the door. I think that really does help it feel a lot more human than I think a lot of other adaptations.
100%.
It reminds you that these people actually, you know, they're related. They like each other. They like live together. They're family. That this is not just a bunch of people who work together and then they're going to go their separate ways.
Bennett family sitcom when?
Yeah, I do wonder, like, because I can't imagine men at the time, it was something they were thinking about, that, like, a household that produces no male heir, father gets too old to keep having babies, is, like, fucked.
They just thought it was a fate worse than death, yeah.
No, and it's, like, the fact that there's so much attention paid to how old he is and how young his youngest is like, they really fucking, without it needing to be said, they really clearly fucking tried to produce a male heir.
Yeah, but also at the same time, like, and this is more prominent in the novel, like, Mr. Bennet didn't, you know, like, set things aside. He didn't set aside anything from, like, income in the event that he didn't have a male heir. Like, where we pick up with the Bennets, it's like, when he dies, we're fucked. And so that's why Mrs. Bennet is so frantic, and Mr. Bennet has just kind of made his peace with it because he doesn't like his wife anymore, which thankfully is not the case in the movie.
No, I didn't get that vibe.
They are clearly still in love, especially as illustrated with their little scene at the end, which I think is nice.
I fucking loved, after this moment, you will not see one of your parents anymore, because if you do marry him, I will not speak to you. He's like, I don't want to talk to that. Having him as a son-in-law? Ew! And we laughed so hard at that scene.
Please, dear God, don't make me go through that.
And also, we do find that it's also a matter of he doesn't think anyone can deserve her.
Because she's not like the other girls.
She's not like the other girls, but in this movie, that's not so much of an issue because we are getting to see other girls. We're getting to spend the time with Jane and, however brief, with Mary and Kitty and Lydia as well. And this is a movie that respects Charlotte.
Yeah.
This is a movie that just respects all of the women, and we love it. And speaking of Jane and Bingley, one of the things that always drives me nuts is that it is actually really hard for me to root for Bingley getting back with Jane after he was so easily led. So kudos to this movie for him having him out and out say, yeah, I've been an unbearable ass.
I mean, the impression I always got from Mr. Bingley in every adaptation is he's kind of just a dope.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
he very much is, but Jane deserves better than a dope.
Yeah,
Jane deserves better than a dope, but, like, you know,
he reminds me of
got there.
SpongeBob.
No.
Fine, he reminds me of Bach and Nephew Fred.
No.
I see the vision. I see the vision.
At best, he's a golden retriever. At worst, he is SpongeBob.
He's a little bit of a SpongeBob.
I do really like that we don't see Bingley's proposal to Jane. We see her reaction and her acceptance. I think that's really smart, and it frames the moment on Rosamund Pike as Jane more so than on Bingley. I really like that Bingley ultimately feels like a supporting character here, and that we gave what would normally be his screen time to other characters.
But at the same time, I also do love that this is a movie that also, like, this movie just cares so much about all of the, like, little relationships. Like, we see a lot of Darcy and Bingley's friendship, especially in the bit where he's practicing the proposal.
God, yes. Fantastic moment.
Or just the brief scene of Darcy and his sister laughing is like, lets us see Darcy smile earlier than we would in the story.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Darcy smiling? I didn't know he knew how to do that.
He's a socially awkward bastard.
Yeah.
It doesn't excuse the
Listen.
ways he's been unkind, but that's really what it is.
Darcy and Bingley are two autistic idiots who share one brain cell, and neither of them possess it during this entire story.
Oh, jeez.
I find it extremely interesting. I brought up Sense and Sensibility a lot for reasons that will become clear during my plugs. But, like, the interesting thing about that is that, like, in Sense and Sensibility, the main sister's romance is, like, he is off-screen for 80% of that novel and that movie. He, like, shows up at the very beginning and the very end, and most of the plot is about the secondary sister's, like, love triangle with, I don't remember the names of any of the characters. Alan Rickman.
Brandon and Willoughby, yeah.
Thank you. And, like, this one is kind of, like, in reverse, you know, Jane's romance, he's there at the very beginning, he comes back at the very end, and most of it is focused on Lizzie's relationship with Mr. Darcy. And, you know, I think that gives them both extremely different textures. Also, I think that the Wickham is kind of equivalent to the shitty dude in Sense and Sensibility. Interesting.
Willoughby. Yeah.
I've connected two dots.
Jane Austen hated a charming man.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Jane Austen was always suspicious of men who were too charming, and I mean, she's not wrong, unfortunately.
She doesn't like W's either, for that matter. She's not big on men with W in their name.
I mean,
she's not wrong. Willoughby is better than Wickham, particularly in the novel. Wickham is a villain, yes.
I mean, a lot of that is, I think, a little bit her responding to genre conventions of the time. You know, River, one of my fellow esteemed podcast hosts, has a recurring joke that the plot summary of like 80% of novels from this time period is Cad encounters local family, 3 dead, dozens injured. And so I think she liked to drag this Cad into the book, have someone sort of flirt with him a little bit, and then go, oh, by the way, he fucking sucks. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately, we don't get him out of here.
Unfortunately.
I have a theory that this movie is playing with those character archetype expectations in a modern sense via the inclusion of Keira Knightley, because the guy who plays Wickham really reminds me of Orlando Bloom, and the guy who plays Darcy really reminds me of Jack Davenport. So, like, in her previous film, the scrappy, friendly guy was her true love, and the man of station was the gross one she rejects.
Interesting. I don't know if the casting director intended that, but it's fun if it's
a vibe we got. I don't know if it's 100%, but I mean, it's a subversion of those archetypes. But that's just a
theory. An IER theory. No, I don't think it's a cabinet. Fucking Wickham. Obviously, part of the world we were with the that storyline.
I knew from the second he showed up, I was like, I didn't want to spoil it for my wife, but I was like, man, get him away! No, but I just had to pretend everything was okay. Oh, a normal character showed up. Let's see what he's about.
Did your lovely wife end up taking how much of a shitheel he was, actually?
Yeah, no, she was like kind of, when the family was celebrating with the wedding was a success, she was like,
it's weird. It's unfortunate that, like, this is the best case of for Lydia that she has to marry this shitty beautiful man.
Realize how much she just got out of it.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing, because she ran this year, fell even more in love with him as a result when she found out, because he did that partially for her. Not that she was ever supposed to know, but still.
Yeah, she leaves Kimberly thinking, that's it, I'm never going to see him again, or if I do, it's not going to be the same, because his greatest enemy is my family now. And this is another failing of Mr. Bennet, especially. It gets kind of glossed over, but the fact that the Bennet sisters did not have a governess. The Bennet sisters are all just kind of self-taught at home based on their own interests and predilections. So, like, it's honestly kind of a miracle that Jane and Lizzie are so sensitive. And Mrs. Bennet, my beloved, like, is kind of silly. And, like, as much as she is with the reality of her daughter's situation, she is so focused on marriage being an end goal that she is unwilling to process marriage being a bad thing when it is presented to her daughters. And so, like, if the Bennet sisters had a governess or had learned anything, like, things could have turned out very differently for Lydia.
I mean, the fact that Jane and Lizzie are the oldest daughters, of course they're more sensitive.
Yeah.
It's when you start having more
Yeah, he was a regular aged dad when they were born.
He wasn't just a regular dad, he was a cool dad.
I have to assume that this was a like Viserys Targaryen situation where it's like, okay, I need a son. We're just gonna keep going at this. God damn it!
Probably,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Yep, alright, well, next one. We got it on this next one.
It is also textual that when they got married, Mrs. Bennet was so hot. That's why they got together, because she was so smoking hot. And Mr. Bennet was like, God damn, I've been led astray by my lust, and I don't like my wife, actually. I'm gonna go into my library and sulk about it. So you really feel for Mrs. Bennet, or at least I did.
No, absolutely. I think so bad. That is like, yes, she was but also, I'd be anxious too. I feel like growing up is realizing Mrs. Bennet had a point.
No, they did make her feel like a person. Basically, her role in the text itself is someone says something horrific and then she responds, "Oh, that's wonderful!" And then everyone stares at her like,
Yeah. Yeah.
And she does have this interesting preternatural illumination of life.
There is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice I would love to see during the dinner with Lady Catherine Ward, where she is grilling Lizzie on who is your family, who were you taught by. She makes a comment like, if I had known your mother, I could have set her up with teachers within her budget, basically. I would love to see a Pride and Prejudice AU where the Bennets lived close enough to be in Lady Lucy's orbit, and Mrs. Bennet was sort of beholden to her in the way that Lady Catherine's tenants are. So, like, what would the Bennet sisters look like if they had teachers that were by Lady Catherine?
We really cannot stop writing gay Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, no. Yeah, this is my old woman Erie. You're welcome.
Are we doing 50 Shades of Prejudice?
No.
Coming soon on a future episode of In Our Retellings.
Wait, hold on, because those characters are based on Edward and Bella, who are...
The Countess of Burgundy.
No, I meant the Pride and Prejudice characters. No, the Twilight characters are based on...
Yeah.
I got it.
There must be BDSM, Pride and Prejudice.
Fine, but Lizzie better be the dom.
What's the correct amount of characters in Catherine and Fitzwilliam for the same book? I'm going with 2 probably is fine.
Well, to get historical with it, like, what they are establishing is that Colonel Fitzwilliam is Fitzwilliam is the family name for is Lady Catherine's maternal name, as well as Darcy's mother. So Darcy was named Fitzwilliam because it was very common at the time for sons to be given their mother's former surname, their maiden name, as their
The Catherine thing.
yeah.
An abundance of Catherines, really.
One could say.
That's why there are 2 of them for Mystery Days, okay?
There were 3 actually.
They hadn't mentioned enough names yet.
No.
At least one of them.
We have a short list of British names that come out. And you can just spell it hybridly.
Everyone was naming themselves Anne and Catherine and whatnot, and John, so that's why everyone had the same name.
You just had to hope it wasn't your cousin John.
Yeah, one of them is Kitty, not Catherine. This one, Mr. Darcy has no first name.
Yeah.
In the credits, he's Mr. Darcy.
Mr. Bob.
My harmless, unconnected to anything headcanon is that Kitty isn't short for Catherine, it's short for Kitteridge.
That's good. It's
Oh,
short
and
for
then come
Kitty.
on, Charlie, what are you talking about?
It's he's
Last name Darcy, first
Yeah.
name Mr.
he came from a very foggy area where it's common to name him.
I mean, we did indeed see a long fog at the end of this, and there's credence there. Anyway, like I said before, this really is the ultimate fantasy that a man will listen to your criticisms and actually do better. And that is why this is one of my favorite romantic novels of all time.
They managed to do enemies to lovers in a way where the stakes feel very real to the genre, and there's a reason why it is such a classic.
And again, like, it even acknowledges by the end, it's like, wow, these two are so similar. They're very stubborn, they're both very smart, and they meet each other intellectually and emotionally, and I just have a lot of feelings about how romantically they portray them in this, between the shot where it looks like they're dancing alone.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was amazing.
I can tell you having seen Anna Karenina, Joe Wright fucking loves that show.
And he's right too. It's a banger every time.
It's a really good visual metaphor.
If you felt these characters didn't have anything in common, you skipped the cover of the book. That's actually, it's not the only thing you could judge it based on, but that might give you a little extra information there.
Mm-hmm.
Might list 2 character traits these male and female romantic leads share.
Yeah, it's right in the title. You're right.
I am keen to see the Netflix adaptation. It's been 20 years. It's time for a new retelling.
The children yearn for a new Pride and Prejudice adaptation. And hey, this one is starring a non-binary actor as Lizzie.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Make it gay, you cowards.
They won't.
Muppets.
With Muppets. All right.
Oh
Well,
my
I mean, Sam the Eagle, right, as Mr. Darcy.
Actually, Brett Goldstein is trying to make it happen. With
Cool.
him as Mr. Darcy.
Oh,
Interesting.
yes.
Muppets.
Brett Goldstein, Mr. Darcy.
And he's aiming for Miss Piggy to be playing Lizzie.
Shoot his shot.
I'm of the opinion that we need to start coming up with either more interesting pitches for
Yes.
Muppet movies, or stop pitching everything with Muppets. Either pitch me a Muppet version of Videodrome, or come up with a new joke.
I don't think it's a joke. I think it's that stories retold with Muppets are good, and it's weird they stopped after 2 of those movies.
Yeah, no, Ellie, this is not a joke to most of us. We just really want Disney to stop wasting the Muppets.
I really just want Muppet Pride and Prejudice.
They made 3 of them. They made Muppet Wizard of Oz, so I can say definitively, no, they are not always good.
Okay, that's cool. We should include that. You're right.
Okay, so great. Let's let them redeem themselves.
No,
The
you're
movie-
right. That one's
that
in
movie,
there.
yes, it's quite something.
But no, I've got to say, I turn to mush every goddamn time he's walking towards her through the mist.
Okay, to be mean for 5 seconds, I think the final scene of this movie is a little weak.
Hey,
Disagree.
that's rude.
I really like it.
They could have cut the scene and just ended on the proposal, and it would have been fine.
Okay.
That was my opinion. Maybe that's just my taste.
All I know is me and my wife alone in our homes gave this film a standing ovation.
Fair.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh my God! Thank you for giving me. I mean, it's been on my list for a very long time, but thank you for giving me a reason to watch it. I loved it so
Thank you for
fucking
being a
much.
lucky 10,000.
Truly, it's actually such a joy to hear that it does still land for someone who hasn't had it built up in their head as one of their favorite movies for years. So that's really nice.
But I fucking get it. I was like, yeah, that's a great fucking film.
Yeah.
And yeah, I turn to mush every time he says, "You have bewitched me body and soul, and I love you."
Where's Mr. Darcy?
And I turn into mush every time he calls her Mrs. Darcy. I
Yes.
don't care that the purists hate that ending.
I
I
love.
don't care either. They can fight me.
I love Mrs. Bennett, Miss Bennett, Miss Bennett, Miss Bennett,
Yes.
Miss Bennett, Miss Bennett, and Miss Bennett.
Yes.
Yes.
A+ joke. You know,
It's not historically accurate, but you do need to do it.
it's funny as fuck.
It's so funny.
This movie is so funny in so many ways. I love the Kill Bill zooms when Darcy and Elizabeth realize they're in the same house, which is Darcy's house. The cutting to her running away on the balcony after locking eyes through the door is so funny.
At the time, I need to be literally anywhere else. Good. I'm going to jump off this balcony now.
Yes.
Kill Bill, directed by the fictional director from Muppet Wizard of Oz.
The movie does have several extremely good scenes where it's just like they have to interact after he proposed, and they're just like, "Oh God, I wanted to." Also, Rosamund Pike has an extremely good dying on the inside look.
She does.
Yes.
As good as she is at playing absolute bastards, I do kind of miss this side of her in movies.
Yeah.
Jane's such a sweetie.
She's supposedly very sweet in Wheel of Time, but also the show's also supposedly not very good, so...
Bummer.
Mm.
You know, she's pretty good in Gone Girl, so I can't complain too much.
The World's End.
She's extraordinarily good in I Care a Lot, although I'll admit that movie's extremely unpleasant.
All roles in which she's kind of playing a bastard. So my point remains, as good as she is, I do miss her being soft and sweet.
I don't know that she's a bastard, and I said The World's End. I don't know about that.
True, fair enough. But especially the scene where after Bingley proposed and she and Lizzie just keep on laughing because they're so fucking happy that it's worked out for them. It's so sweet. It's just... This is just such a sweet movie.
It is. Do people have a favorite costume from this movie?
I mean, when Darcy's first not wearing all black, when he's wearing a poet shirt and a robe over it, my wife was like, "You would wear that." And I'm like, I've worn that.
When I was a teenager, I really wanted to wear the costume Darcy's sister has, which is one of those thoughts that I learned very young to keep to myself.
Yeah. No, I love all of the Darcy outfits because it's so funny when everyone's dressed in so many colors and he's there as this pre-gothic goth.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I would laugh whenever he would enter a room with other characters in similar manners of dress.
I love Lizzie's butterfly early aughts hairstyle that she is rocking.
Oh, with the pearls, you mean? Yeah.
The pearls are really good.
It's so pretty. It's so she's
early aughts.
That is true. I mean, that is when this was made.
I know, that's my point.
But yeah, no, all the costumes here are just lovely. I'm sure Sam would be screaming if they were in this episode. I'm sure there's some serious inaccuracies that would drive them nuts. I don't give a fuck.
The Britney Spears butterfly clip?
She doesn't have butterfly clips. She has pearls. This is a movie with a point of view. Having a point of view goes a long way towards smoothing over any inaccuracies. If you don't have a point of view, if it's not cohesive, then the historic inaccuracies stand out. That's my soapbox. Yeah, my favorite costume, I think, is the brown dress over the white chemise that Lizzie wears a couple of times, but notably when she's on the swing and has that scene with Charlotte.
That fucking swing. I have never seen ennui filmed that well.
Yeah.
That is basically the proto of circling around Bella shot.
Yeah, no, I was about to say, they literally straight up used that shot in New Moon.
Yeah.
Oh god. Oh god. Oh god. We're gonna have so much to talk about in the inevitable Twilight month.
If you'll excuse me, I'm going to go walk into a lake now.
What a great Pride and Prejudice reference. That is the wrong adaptation. That's not the one we're talking about.
Editor Jasmine here. This was the part where we started almost going into yet another big old tangent, and Ellie was very kind as to put the kibosh on it, so we are going straight into why does Pride and Prejudice endure?
Romantic, sappy losers like me.
What if you made the female love interest sarcastic and the male love interest quiet and brooding? That opened so many doors that changed the genre forever. It threw just straight up clothing. I'm not familiar with this story, but it was clear to see all of the ripples it has caused in culture in the past fucking 300 years.
Is the X-Files
200 plus.
a Pride and Prejudice adaptation the greatest thread in the history of something awful? Locked up for 4,000 pages of
you know, I will say Fox Mulder, definite Fitzwilliam Darcy vibes.
Right?
Also,
No?
autistic Riz.
You gotta get a guy with autistic Riz and then his mean girlfriend.
I mean, I think this endures because, much like all other Jane Austen adaptations, it is the blueprint for romantic comedies. Aside from maybe Shakespeare, you know, there is no other single author who has had more influence on rom-coms as a genre than Jane Austen.
Because Shakespeare definitely originates some tropes that are reused here. He also doesn't seem to like women too much.
Are you suggesting the writer of The Taming of the Shrew did not like women very much?
Yeah, I'm kind of suggesting that, yeah, if you call a woman a shrew and you didn't even write page 1 yet, that's kind of a sign.
The fact that contemporaries were writing responses to Taming of the Shrew really does go to show how misogynistic it is. Jane Austen knew how to craft a plot. She knew how to inhabit characters and share a character's internal monologue with the audience and allow for them to root for both sides of a problem. This particular story has stood up as a love story because it is about two people who are right for each other but meet at the wrong time and the wrong place to make themselves better after hearing each other out and really come to deserve one another in a good way at the end.
Mm-hmm.
You should start a podcast about this story specifically, and I will listen to every episode the second I get the push notification.
Thank you so much. I'm thinking of calling it In Each Retelling.
Yeah, I don't think that's taken.
Listen, it's a retelling of Each Retelling where we give a play-by-play summary.
Oh! Just like we intend to one day do my friends have talked about, when you're done with Mystery Shack Look Back, we'll do a look back podcast. Call it Mystery Shack Look Back.
Previously on... Oh, wait, wrong podcast. Sorry, continue.
And, yeah, like I said, it is the ultimate fantasy that someone will hear your critiques of them and actually try to do better as a result, and he'll fix himself if he knows what's good for him.
Sure.
If he's just terrified of any interactions with people, and the second he receives any critique, he rushes home to do self-work in case anyone perceives him again.
Yes, the terrifying ordeal of being known, and my wife will here's my wife, let her be known. I'll just stand here.
Yeah.
And look, in all seriousness, like, there is one aspect of the novel that I do kind of wish had made it into this movie, and it's the point where in Pemberley, it's not just a matter of, you know, Lizzie seeing what she lost out on monetarily. That servant woman was telling her and her aunt and uncle about what a lovely person Mr. Darcy has always been to them. He is kind to his servants. He is good to his little sister. And that is like one major critique I do have of this movie, is that we kind of did lose out on that. Because that is a major aspect of what made Lizzie fall in love with him. Like, this is a story about how just because you have one impression on someone at first, it doesn't mean that is all they are. And it's important to have enough humility to recognize that.
Enough sense and sensibility to recognize that. Wait, no,
Yeah.
sorry.
And
Enough
also-
Northanger Abbey to admit when you've been wrong.
Exactly.
The ability
Enough
to
Emma.
swallow your prides and prejudices. And admit
Yeah.
Emma.
You really gotta make a whole persuasion about it.
All right, I'm back off to the sound.
Get back here, Ellie. You gotta do your plugs. Or final thoughts. Any final thoughts?
Movie good. If you've
Movie
heard
good.
people talk
Movie
about this
good.
movie and be like, you've been like, well, I don't know if it's my thing. No, this movie's for everyone. This is like the fucking Avengers of period piece romances. You will find something you enjoy in it.
Yeah.
Autistic Riz saves the day.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It's really funny how he's like, yeah, I don't exactly know how to form sentences, so to speak.
I don't know how to talk to people.
I can think thoughts in my head, and then I run home to rehearse saying them out loud. Is that normal? We're going with yes.
Whoever an
Is it
autistic
normal
diagnosis
to-
has saved him.
Is it normal to completely fuck up what you've planned to say 5,000 times in your head, and then it comes out of your mouth? No?
Men will literally call their future love interest not handsome enough to tempt them instead of going to therapy.
Exactly. I love this fucking movie. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to watch it and talk about it.
Of
And
course. I'm
yeah.
so
Yeah.
glad.
It's a good
It
movie.
gives me
Thank
so
you,
much
Jazz.
joy. It makes me so happy to know that you loved it.
Yeah. And
I'm-
thank you, Violet and Ellie and Nick for all, and Jazz for all offering insight, since I just, absorbed these characters in this world for the first time. And I loved being able to immediately dig into the themes like I'm on my 5th watch of The World's End here.
You swallowed your pride. And admitted-
Exactly.
All right, I'm
You
declaring
admitted that you had
moratorium.
prejudices originally.
We're declaring. No,
I
no,
thought
we're
this
not.
movie. I thought this movie was going to be a little boring. Yeah, I did. And
Mhm.
you know
You
what?
swallowed
It's
your
not.
pride
It
and
never.
prejudices.
I did. I let go of my prides. This movie's my Mr. Darcy, and
Aw.
We give you our utmost congratulations
On
Here is
marrying
your
a
green
film?
flag.
yeah.
Yeah.
Here is your green flag.
Yeah, I also came to this movie late, Charlie, and it rules, and I'm so delighted that
Oh, it
you...
rules.
It rules. I'm so delighted that you had a great time with it, and getting to hear your insights as someone who watched it so fresh is fantastic.
And
Mhm.
I've said many times in this podcast that my favorite film series is the original Will and Elizabeth Pirates of the Caribbean Gore Verbinski trilogy. And like after this comes out between the first and second film, and after this comes out, suddenly Elizabeth Swann gets the nickname Lizzie, which she never had before, and Tom Hollander is there
Huh.
being insufferable.
Coincidence?
Probably unrelated.
Not.
It's a coincidence.
I don't think he would have done it, but they could have asked Joe Wright to direct number 4.
Well, speaking of the Pirates movie, because that's all about trying to survive in capitalism, who's got stuff to plug?
Well, as indicated several times before, I am the host of The Biggest Night in Podcasting, where we talk about Oscar-winning movies. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify. We have, in the last 3 months, episodes on Joe Wright's adaptation of Anna Karenina and on the 1995 Sense and Sensibility. This movie is not eligible, but if you want to hear Sam shout at the costumes in Anna Karenina, come check that out. You can also find me on Blue Sky, Medium, and Letterboxd at LSR42, at Tumblr at Football and Tuxedos. And you know what? Unique plug just for this episode. You can also find my AO3 at The Last Watch. I may or may not be writing a Regency-style lesbian romance set in the Warhammer world right now because my fucking brain is broken. I genuinely don't know why I'm like this.
I rewrote The Mummy 2017 into a whole ass screenplay. There is no
The
judgment
Mummies
here.
2017 was already a screenplay.
No, I don't think so.
And
I think
I
it was a movie.
rewrote it.
You're confused. So I also am working on a story about 1800s sapphics. I don't want to give away too many details yet, but I have a Discord server where you can keep track of my future work. I also am doing weekly improv dubs of Dungeon Meshi as Marcel. I'm gonna be all the lesbians. Just you watch me. Check that out if you're interested in seeing what I have to offer from this point forward.
So I don't have any projects, but I am going to go ahead and plug a group called Races, or it's called Races, I apologize, RAICES, and the link will be in the bio, but they provide administrative and in-court legal services in support of our immigrant, refugee, and asylum-seeking community members across the state of Texas. They include unaccompanied children services, removal defense services, and family and based humanitarian services. If you have the ability, I would highly encourage you to donate. A lot of Texans are undocumented, and they're going through a lot right now. So if you have the ability to donate to a legal fund like this, please do so and support people.
And this week, that will be our hero's call to action.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and you can find me on Blue Sky as well as now Tumblr at Momentary Horrors, as well as on itch.io at Violet-Floor. So that's VIOLET-FLOHR. On Itch, I have a collection of TTRPG supplements that I have written, namely for Good Society, which I will properly plug after mentioning it a couple of times. Good Society, a Jane Austen role-playing game, is by Story Brewers Role-Playing. It's designed by Haley Gordon and V. Hendro. This is a game that I wholeheartedly love. It made me fall in love with Jane Austen and the Regency, and it is my favorite role-playing system of probably all time. And yeah, there's a lot of really great community stuff available on Itch, including my own. If you like vampires, please check out my work.
And as always, you can find me at FavorVR on all the socials, and you can find this podcast on Blue Sky and technically Twitter at IAR Podcast. To help us reach the next chapter of our story, please consider donating to our Patreon, our Ko-Fi page, or the Spread the Show link below. Or if you are unable to support us monetarily in these really financially uncertain times, please consider rating and reviewing us on the podcatcher of your choice, and spreading the word to any nerds in your life that might want to hear about us. Next week, we are going to be taking a little break because we finally did it, folks. We reached our 100th episode, which means it's time to tackle the looming specter again. Our next episode is on Season 2 of Once Upon a Time. Pray for us, and we hope you'll join us. And remember, stories gain power in each retelling. With the Gardeners, they were always on the most intimate terms. Darcy, as well as Elizabeth, really loved them, and they were both ever sensible of the warmest gratitude towards the persons who, by bringing her to Derbyshire, had been the means of uniting them.